So Cynthia writes with a passion about the places that she loves. She gives details about the time and the place. So we're going to make a T chart today about with our wins and our wheres on our important places to write about. Places I love, like Cynthia loved, the country. I thought about places where I live now and places I enjoy and places I've gone many times and places I maybe have visited on vacations. So some of my wares are at home with friends and families, kind of cozy and crowded in the breakfast room. This would be especially like around Thanksgiving or Christmas, some of those holiday times. Or a birthday party, having all of our friends in our house for all my kids' birthday parties. So this is important where and when. So this was my first time at summer camp, and I remember a particular detail about that summer was how I didn't know how to put my hair in a ponytail. And one of my memories about that is being able to having mastered that ponytail so that when I went to camp, I would be able to fix my own hair. So the where was in the Virginia mountains, and it was in a cabin in the woods, and there were lots of trails. And that is also a time that was my first time at camp, but I went to camp many, many summers in a row. And so that was always like a special time of year for me, being able to go to camp and being in the woods and being, kind of with friends and families and doing arts and crafts and canoeing and that kind of stuff. And so my next where and when is 1993, my very first classroom ever. And I remember being so proud. I had graduated from UNCW and I was so excited. I had waited so long to get my very first classroom. I had always worked in my mother's classroom when I was a little girl and when I was a teenager. And so, right, being in that very first classroom, and let me tell you what it looked like. It was a mobile classroom, kind of like the third graders use at our school, but the windows were broken. There was no furniture in it. It had been a storage room for old books, and someone had even stolen the air conditioner out of the window. And so I walked in that classroom and I fell in love. I was so happy to be there. I didn't care what it looked like. I just couldn't wait to start teaching and to start making that classroom like a special place for those kids to learn. And so that was an important place in time. And I could also write about, if I wanted to add a new one for this year, I would put my trips um, to Denmark. I did this one summer with some other teachers that I worked with when I taught at Forest Hills. And the best part about that trip was another where, and that was the home that we stayed in. We actually stayed with a Danish family, and we got to live with them for a week and eat with them and visit with them and learn about the Danish culture as we were as we lived with them. And then the second part of that trip, we traveled around and we stayed in um, places called hostels. And so it's kind of like a temporary, it's kind of like a hotel, but definitely not as fancy. And a lot of hostels, you might have to stay in a group room or have a group bathroom. Um, and they're kind of like smaller rooms, but they're very inexpensive. And so we were trying to save some money. So we traveled around, we rented a car, and we just traveled around Denmark and just looked for famous places to visit. And we went and saw lots of things. So one of the places we saw was the Danish Legoland, because that is where Lego, the man who invented Legos, that's where he's from. And so we went to the original Legoland and saw that. And we also saw lots of things with Vikings. One of the museums had a mummy in it, and it looks like he was just kind of dried out, but you could still see his hair and the color, some of the colors in his clothes. And so we saw this Viking, and we went on lots of like the nature around there when we were with the home visit. We went and looked at strawberry fields, and we visited the beach. There was this amazing like sandcastle event going on, and so we saw all these are very artistic sandcastles, like all these sand sculptures almost. And so that would be another place that I could write about. So today in your notebook, think about the special places in your life. Think about the special times in your life. Now mine kind of match up down the list, but they don't have to match up. If you have a special time in your life, you don't necessarily have to have the special place where you were. So it could be, the time you learned to ride your bike. That might not have a special where that goes with it. Mine kind of match up, but they don't have to if you don't want them to. All right. So after you've listed your places, go back to your chart and think about what else you could tell about these places. So, again, just like our notebooks from yesterday and today, this is not the time to just write a one word list. I would not want a list that's just said birthday party, camp, first classroom. You want to have some details in there, because when you go back and look at your lists and look at what you wrote this week, this is where you're going to get your ideas. If it's not something you can write a whole lot about um, from your memory, then it might not be the best one. But, if it's special to you, go ahead and put it on the list, and maybe ask mom or dad to help you with some of those details. I'm sure they have lots of photos that would fill in some of the gaps. So make sure you're talking to your parents and your families about some of these times and places. All right. I hope you enjoy writing today, and I look forward to talking to you very soon. Bye now.